My name's Jesse, and this time on Unboxing Board Games, we're going to take a look at the card game Glory to Rome. This is a card game designed by Carl Chudyk and published by a small games publisher called Cambridge Games Factory. The box is kind of a cheap plastic case that snaps together on the corners. You can already kind of see some of the components on the inside, but let's open it up and take a look. First thing you'll notice is that the cover of the box is actually the back of one of the player's aids. The player's aid in this game, there's 5 of them for each of the 2 to 5 players. Player's aid in this game plays an important role because Rome has just burned to the ground. We're talking about ancient Rome, and you are a city leader organizing these 6 worker roles in order to rebuild the city and gain influence and thereby victory points. The game's rule book here, it's printed and looks and feels like a travel brochure to ancient Rome. Inside, some of the pictures are a little grainy, like they didn't quite get the best resolution set up, but it's well written and they do a good job of explaining what you have available to you, what options you have available, and that's kind of the difficult thing about learning this game, is that the cards have a lot on them, and there's a lot of different things available for you to do during your turn, and so coming up with the best strategy takes a lot of practice. Let's look at the game manual. Inside we've got some colored tokens. It's 6 tokens with the same colors as the cards you'll find in the game. These are just used to allocate bonuses at the end of the game. We've got 3 boxes of cards here. The boxes actually all look the same, but they've got all 6 different colors of cards in them. And I've laid some of those cards out here already. There's all 6 colors. And so each of these cards has a role along the side. This is the architect and the craftsman and the legionary, the merchant and the patron, the laborer. And so you've got the text along the left side that indicates the worker role represented by the card and a picture of that worker. And then you'll notice each of these cards has a different structure in the middle with a different benefit that you gain once you built that structure. At the bottom of the card, there's also a resource type. We've got concrete and wood and brick, stone, marble, and rubble. You'll also notice that there's a different number of coins in the corners of these cards, and that has to do with what type of building you're going to construct. And so those coins are going to give you influence in your camp once you've completed those buildings. Your influence limits the number of clientele cards that you can put in your camp. So these clientele cards, if I'm going to use the laborer as a clientele and maybe a merchant, that's all I can put under there because I've only got 2 influence right now. Later on in the game, if I've completed structures that are going to go in the top up here, like the palisade, if I've built that wooden structure, then I get an additional coin. So I've got a total of 3. I would be able to put a total of 3 clientele over here on the left side of my camp. Similarly, the influence limits the cards that you can place in your vault, and I would take a card and place it upside down under the vault side. Now, how am I moving these cards around? Well, I'm going to have a selection of cards in my hand, and I'm also there's also going to be a card pool in the middle of the table. But during my turn, if I'm the leader, I get to choose one of the cards from my hand. And at that point, the cards function as a worker role. So, for example, if I had this craftsman card in my hand, I could play that, and it's color-coded with the player's aid. So the player's aid is telling me that with the craftsman I can lay a foundation for some structure, or I could build a structure by adding cards to that structure and hopefully completing it, allowing me to stick that card underneath the top of this camp. So when I've chosen my role as a craftsman, if the other players in the game also have that same card, then they can play as a craftsman also. There's another role called the patron that would allow me to take a card from the pool in the center of the game and place that worker in my clientele, which means that later on, if I've got a clientele card that I'm playing during my turn, then the clientele from my hand gets added to the clientele, or rather the worker in my hand gets added to the clientele in my camp, and I would be able to perform in this case, the laborer action twice. And it's got this nice yellow arrow reminding me that the laborer allows me to gather material from the card pool into my stockpile. So if we had a card pool out here, say in the middle of the table, and I wanted wood resources, or let's pick something different. Let's pick the concrete card here. If I wanted concrete, I would place that under here on the camp to where only concrete is exposed at the bottom of the card, and that tells me that the function of this card, which in other instances could be built as a storeroom or chosen as an architect role. Right now, I've moved that card to where it's going to function as concrete, so that later on I could be using an architect or a craftsman and building some concrete structure like an aqueduct that would get placed on one of these site cards. And at the bottom of the site card, it's telling me that I need the foundation plus 2 materials. So later on, I might be playing my turn and be able to take this concrete card and place it underneath the aqueduct on top of the site and build up that structure. Once I've completed the structure, I can place that up here at the top of my camp. It shows that I've got an additional 2 influence for a total of 4 influence, and like I said earlier, that increases my capacity for cards on this side, the clientele side of my camp, and in the vault. So with all of this going on during your turn, and everybody else being able to copy you, and by all of this meaning you have the options to do these things. You're not going to be doing all of this during one turn, because each of your turns is going to be along the lines of one of these roles that you've chosen. We've got the patron, the laborer, the architect, the craftsman, the legionary, and the merchant. So with those roles going on during your turn, and other players following them if they have the ability to do so, it's nice to have this leader card to remind everyone whose turn it is, and they can pass this card on to the next player, and then they perform the leader's function. Lastly, there's one more component in the box, and it's this legionary aid, that if someone's playing a legionary card from their hand, see if it's got the word legionary here to the left. If I'm playing a legionary and I'm building that aqueduct, let's say it hasn't been completed yet, I could say I would place a concrete card on this legionary card, and it's got the steps here that I would take during that phase of the game, so that I can demand concrete from the other players in the game. So I'd say Rome demands concrete, and the other players would have to fork over a concrete card to me, and I would be able to place that concrete card that I was given from another player into my stockpile. I would also be able to take a concrete card from the center of the game table out here, which there is none. I wouldn't be able to take one at this time. So there's a lot going on in this game, and there's some other videos out there that explain the function of the game better, but I hope that you have a better understanding of what the components are in this game as we've unboxed it. So that's an unboxing of Glory to Rome.